Well, Canada has supported the U.S. position on the conflict, but will not be sending any troops to support it. And today, we were also learning that Canada was not informed of this attack in advance. So I want to bring in two guests to discuss more about this, each with an interesting kind of expert perspective. Peter MacKay, former Minister of Foreign Affairs, former Minister of National Defense, and Nazanin Afshin-Jam MacKay is the founding member of Iranian Justice Collective and human rights and democracy advocate, and they join us now from King's Head, Nova Scotia. Peter, I'm going to start by asking you about Canada's position on Iran, supporting the strikes, although today Anita Anand said that Canada prefers diplomacy. What do you make of Canada's current position?
Well, I think the position, Ian, is quite consistent with that which was set out for some years, that this Iranian regime, which, as you know and you've been discussing, is responsible for sponsoring terror and a proxy for terrorist organizations like the Houthis and Hamas and Hezbollah and others. And so Canada has taken positions, including sanctions and listing of the IRGC. And previous to that, the Quds Force closed the embassy in Tehran. And so the statement is reflective of much of that history. But as you pointed out, supportive of the U.S. strikes. It doesn't go into language of regime change or make any commitment with respect to future positions or, in particular, boots on the ground. So the statement itself, which is signed or endorsed by both the Prime Minister and the Foreign Minister, I think is consistent with the long-held positions of Canada.
And Peter, Anita Anand saying today that Canada wasn't notified about this military action with the U.S.-Israeli strikes on Iran. Are you surprised at that? Should we be concerned about that lack of notice?
Well, I don't think they were asking for anything. And Canada has really no assets in the region that would, entitle or ask for Canada to be part of this mission. And so that we weren't informed, I don't think is anything to be alarmed about.
Let's turn now to Nazanin, and well known as an Iranian Canadian activist. You spoke to my colleague Rosemary Barton yesterday. How are you feeling here on a Monday evening about what you're seeing unfold in Iran?
Well, as you know, Ian, there's a full-scale war happening. So, of course, it's always frightening for the people there. I saw videos of explosions and windows shattering and people screaming. But on the other hand, there's a lot of hope. Of course, people were celebrating when they heard that their biggest oppressor, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, was eliminated, along with around 50 other top IRGC commanders and regime officials, the people that have been repressing their rights for 47 years, that have occupied their land, that have taken all their fundamental rights away. So there's fear, there's jubilation, there's a mix of a lot of emotions right now.
Now, when you say hope, I assume you mean, but maybe you don't, but I assume you mean hope for regime change. And if that's the case, realistically, well, what's the likelihood of that?
Well, that is the case. There is hope. This is a golden opportunity that we might not ever see again, at least not in my generation, where you have a lot of the right ingredients lined up, where you have a U.S. president that is willing to take it this far, to have armadas, to have fighter jets taking out strategically the regime command centers, and then you have a population, 90 million people, at least 80% of those 90 million want complete regime change and want a path to freedom and democracy, a secular, democratic system. And we have the people at the ready to fulfill those positions, to lead a transitional government, and to finally see the light of day in a free, democratic Iran.
Nazanin, we heard how brutally the Iranian regime can quash people who stand up and protest and try to bring about change, and even a weakened Iranian government presumably still can be a frightening thing. It's going to take a lot of courage, I would think, for Iranian people to stand up. And do you think that they're going to seize this moment?
Yes, you're absolutely right, Ian. Just a few weeks ago, we saw it in a matter of 2 days with internet blackouts. Over 40,000 people were slaughtered on the streets. And in fact, when people were chanting in the streets when Khamenei was eliminated, the suppression forces were still on the streets trying to repress them. And so this is a reality and a fear. But what I'm hearing on the ground in Iran is that people are so fed up. Their livelihoods have been taken away from them, both economically speaking and their rights, that they're willing to pay this price. They know there's a price for freedom, and they're willing to sacrifice their lives for the next generation of Iranians.
Nazanin Afshin-Jam MacKay and Peter MacKay, thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Will.